come and join us. Paul, we also have from the AI Action Summit, Mr. Philippe Huberdeau, and from Vivendi, Fabien, Aufrechter, and the man who's going to moderate and shape this conversation forward right now from TechCrunch, Mr. Romain Dillet. Take a seat, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Great to be here with all of you here on stage. I'm going to move this right here. Great to be here and at this conversation, have this conversation during this week. What a crazy week. Just a few days ago, it was the AI Action Summit here in Paris. And maybe I'm going to start with that and throw the microphone to Philippe, who has played an instrumental part in organizing this summit. So what were the goals of the summit, and do you think you achieved them?
Well, thank you very much. And yes, indeed, it was a crazy week. So the main goals, we had obviously international goals to improve AI governance at an international level, but also goals at the level of Europe and France to use AI more, to increase the adoption of AI by businesses and by public administration. And so I won't go into all the details because we don't have time, but there have been key decisions made to accelerate the adoption of AI by our public services to make them more efficient and more useful for our citizens.
But I think the two main things we talked about were the big investments announced by Emmanuel Macron, Ursula von der Leyen, building new data centers in France up to 109 billion euros. The European Commission announcing some private and public investments of up to 200 billion euros in the European AI ecosystem. So it was a lot of money, so a lot of support. But we didn't really talk much about public transformation on stage, I guess. And the second part is, of course, the statement at the end of the summit. Would you say that behind closed doors there were a lot of conversations within ministries, for instance, saying, okay, we gotta adopt AI and change our mindsets?
Yes, absolutely. All ministries were involved in the preparation of the summit. We had a meeting of all ministries, a committee of all ministries, no later than the week before the summit, also to mobilize them. And there is a clear direction to educate and train 2 million civil servants.
2 million, okay.
2 million, yeah, to work with AI and in their daily work. And for instance, we realize that there is already a strong adoption of AI by job seekers. So 3 out of 4 job searches are helped with AI. So this is a reality we have to really to embrace. And there is a lot more that can be done. In his final speech, Emmanuel Macron also rightly puts the focus on simplification, because if we want to accelerate AI, we have to simplify also the rules. But AI can also be an instrument to achieve that, actually. And within Europe, for instance, one of the barriers is language. But now we clearly see that all the automatic translation systems on the market by AI are so efficient, so fast, that it just lifts this hurdle of language difference between
yeah, maybe this time next year we'll do the conference in French and it's going to be translated to English. I'm going to ask Paul Midy, who is a member of parliament in Essonne. I know your circonscription really well because I grew up in Orsay.
Nice.
Actually.
Nice. Are you still voting in my territory?
No, I'm voting in Paris. Sorry, I couldn't put a vote for you, or maybe your opponents. Who knows? I wanted to ask you, how are the conversations at the National Assembly right now around AI? I'm sure there have been a lot of talks this week about what the parliament could do for the people you're representing.
Yes, so first one word, because you mentioned the AI summit, which was, I think, amazing. Me, it was so refreshing. Paris was a capital of AI for a few days. Everybody was there, and sorry, I repeat it.
Except Elon Musk.
Except Elon Musk, shame for him, but he was invited. But the very, very good news also is this major private investment of 109 billion euro. Honestly, after the very painful budget processing that we had in the past months, and the budget which is not satisfactory on the innovation point, lot of means, but it's not satisfactory. It was very, very refreshing. And the 200 billion at European level, very good. We could do more. But 109 billion euro at French level, if you compare with GDP, size of GDP, France versus US, it's 2 times target project with 500 billion euro announced by Trump. So really, I want us to keep the very good mood that we had those past days and keep on going. And I hope that this year, 2025, will be year of stability in France, and I'm optimistic now we will be able to make it happen. And I hope it will be a year where the funds will come back. The rates of the central bank in Europe are decreasing, and I hope we will see the money coming back a lot to our startups. So I'm a bit optimistic always. It's my character, but it's my hope for this year. So sorry, no, I can answer your question.
What about the National Assembly?
Yeah, National Assembly. So I organized with some colleagues a side event of the AI Summit at National Assembly, which was a very good discussion. We did 2 things. First, we wanted to show demonstrations of AI for good. First one we did was Ibiki, the new model of Qtai, which would be very useful now for me because I'm speaking English, I'm fluent, but Ibiki would be way better than me at translating what I think in French and I try to say in English. So they do live translation, they use the tone of your voice, they use your voice, they can do it in a very noisy environment. So technically, you take your phone, you are in a club with very loud music, you take your phone and it's translating directly with the tone of your voice. It's working perfectly. Honestly, it's amazing. It's a first in the world. And they will release it for the public in a few days, few weeks. So it's very, very new. But it was one of the things we showcased in Assemblée Nationale. We wanted to show all the improvement it can really concretely bring. And we had discussion on inclusivity. How do we make AI an opportunity for all? Addressing the topic of we miss women in tech, but we miss even more women in AI. We miss a lot of diversity, and it will have an impact, of course, on the way we build AI, with gender biases and many other biases. So it was one discussion very important for us as a regulator, and a second discussion on regulation. But the main message I would pass was more, and I was using this event to explain to my colleagues, we did the regulation. It's AI Act. It's already a lot. Now we need to put all our effort on innovation rather than spending too much time on regulation, even if regulation is, of course,
innovation
useful.
And investments. And I have a good example about biases in AI models as well. I was interviewing Clara Chapaz, the digital minister, and she told me if you're trying to generate an image in an image generation model and say, I want to see a brilliant scientist working on AI, and the model is going to generate a man and not a woman, like 100%.
Yeah, and we did the test at the event at Assemblée Nationale during the speech of our Présidente of Assemblée Nationale, Yael Braun-Pivet. So she used Grok to generate an image saying, please give me a picture of the President of National Assembly and the President of the Republic.
And it wasn't
Grok,
Yale,
of course, it was two men above 60, white and with gray hair. She has the same to Le Chat of Mistral, and at least it was a woman and a man. And the point was, so we need to work on this, but my main point is it's not through regulation that we will force the model to be coherent with our values. What makes natively the model and the technologies coherent with our values is to build them in our country.
Right here in France. All right, I want to ask you, Fabien, now, if you could pass the microphone, about your thoughts, because you have a sort of dual position right now. You're the mayor of Verneuil-sur-Seine, and you're also VP of Gen AI and Web3 at Vivendi. How can you reconcile these two roles between your role as a sort of public servant on one side, on the one hand, and as an executive at Vivendi on the other hand?
Well, having dual identity is something interesting, I guess, here. But beside, first, I would like to jump on what you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about biased, there's something which is interesting about AI, but I think I'm able here and now to do the same with your brains. Because if I ask you, what is the picture you would have in mind if I say a mayor, you don't have my face. You have someone older, and you have someone who is going to be probably a man, retired, because usually it's the first image you're going to have in mind. And bias is not a question just of tech, it's a question of society. And it's something we need to work on, not only with engineers, but also with regulators, as you said, and business. And that's the connection I wanted to make with you, connecting business and regulators and, let's say, global regulation was something which was key during the summit. For us, it's always good working daily in AI to have evangelization, sensibilization, and, let's say, global impact, because everything is going to be about education at the end. But beside, I would say, connecting is something important. A summit is a lot of time that we earn. Between September and today, I did something like 15 countries to meet our teams, to meet our clients, to meet the regulators, to meet ministers, just to build with them, because you cannot build even tech from just one place. You need to build with a network, and that's what we are doing with our employees. So having a summit enabling you to meet all the good people you want to target usually is something that is very, very powerful for us.
And are you evangelizing internally at Vivendi, but also the citizens living in Verneuil as well? And
Well,
how is it different?
Well, there's a common point, which is usually I'm not trying to sell a technology. I don't like, to be honest, people doing AI washing. I prefer, and same I would say here for NFT washing, blockchain washing, tech washing. What I try to do is not talking about tech, but to try finding the right application. For example, in my city, one of my targets was to have a new website, which is 100%, I would say, inclusive for disabled people. I'm not looking for the tech. I'm just looking for the application. There will be AI. There will be other stuff, but we don't care. We just want to have the result. And today, I would say that 99.9999% of websites and public websites are not inclusive fully for disabled people. And this is something that we need to tackle, and this is why AI is important and why we need sovereign AI and AI also for good.
And I guess the company you've been working with for the new website, were they using AI to build this website? Were they?
Yeah, but for example, just have a try. Show me, for example, I don't know, a chatbot which is going to be open for any kind of disabled people. It's not existing yet. There are some models which are coming, and it's getting better and better. But this is the kind of things we are trying to tackle. And in Vivendi, same, I would say, we're looking for the best cases. And the cases, they are very numerous. They are sometimes to improve our businesses, improve our content, but also sometimes, let's say, not just to improve, but to create new experiences. And for us, this is something very interesting. And this is the thing which is connecting my two caps, creating new experiences and enabling people to feel new experiences.
All right, thank you. Philippe, I wanted to ask you, because you've been involved with so many summits, we were talking about that before, Scale Up Europe and the G7 in Biarritz in 2019. Have you seen a vibe shift over technology and AI investments in Europe and in France between 2019, Scale Up Europe, and now?
Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Actually, one of the results of the summit is that we reboosted and relaunched the GPI, the Global Partnership on AI, which is a very important international organization working on AI, but which was created back in 2019 in Biarritz. But at that time in Biarritz, it was a really a minor point on the agenda. So clearly it was not making the headlines at all. And now we see the difference. I mean, AI is a major issue globally for all policymakers. And I think this summit, well, as a matter of fact, is the first global summit dedicated to AI, which is really global. All the world was here. It's really a summit.
What about the previous ones in South Korea and in Bletchley?
Well, in Bletchley Park in the UK and in Seoul, you only had 30 countries, so it was not really global. And it was at the ministerial level, so it was not really a summit. It was not the top level. Here we had the top level from all over the world. Yeah, so and I think it's only the beginning. It's clearly a historic watershed, I think.
Do you think at the next G7 summit they are going to talk a lot about AI again?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. There is already a process within the G7 dedicated to AI called the Hiroshima process, because it was launched by the Japanese. And clearly it will figure prominently at the top of the agenda. No
Okay,
question.
one last question. Do you think, I guess, tech leaders, CEOs, they pay attention to what's happening at these summits and they actually want to implement the recommendations as part of their roadmaps?
Well, there are no, in the legal sense, regulations or whatever that have been adopted at the summit. It's really a recommendation to say, so it's an orientation, and they are paying attention to that for sure, because there are different models in the world, and in this summit it was very clear you had a US model, a Chinese model, and a third one with Europe at the center. And clearly there is a geopolitics of AI also that is now taking shape, and clearly the leaders of the AI companies are paying a lot of attention to that. Yeah.
Paul, I wanted to ask you about one of the announcements at the AI Action Summit. I think it was right before the event. Arthur Mensch, the CEO of Mistral, said his company would invest billions of euros in a data center around Saclay or the Saclay area. Given that you are a member of parliament of this area, not exactly Saclay, but not far, do you know exactly where it's going to be located?
No, I don't know yet. You have two projects, because there is a project of Mistral, so they say it will be in Essonne, so in the department of Essonne.
Oh, okay.
So not clear exactly where, but I think around the Paris-Saclay innovative ecosystem. The second one also is the one from the Emiratis, the 30 to the 50 billion. They also want to be close to Saclay.
Is it going to be a fight between different areas of France saying, hey, I want a data center too?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we already begin the we won the fight, but naturally most of the best brains, they come from Paris-Saclay, because they come from Polytechnique, they come from Université Paris-Saclay, the MVA, Master. So, and Paris-Saclay, Centrale Supélec, ENS, Paris-Saclay. So many of them. It's 15% of all the higher education and research in France, my territory. So of course, the brain come there, and specifically on AI and quantum, they usually come from this place. So everybody, of course, the investors want to be close to this territory, but it comes back to very concrete questions, because Paris-Saclay is an agricultural territory at first. So we have agricultures, and we building on this territory, and it's already a fight between how do we develop this ecosystem of innovation, but how do we keep nature and land on this territory. So
Do
we
you
find
expect
a way.
some resistance?
Yes, there are resistance from some people, enthusiasm from others, but there is. I mentioned this point because when we want to develop data centers, develop innovation, it means sometimes building buildings, but at the same time we want to preserve nature, land, etc. And our territory is specifically in this battle. So it will be difficult to find the space for the data center, but we'll find a solution.
Okay. We're running out of time, but Fabien, maybe one last question. At a very local level as well, do you think you can do something to attract some of this investment as well and make sure you can take advantage of all the money flowing into AI?
I think today we have three stakes. First one is what I would call experiences, what I was mentioning. I was in the Silicon Valley, I was in Los Angeles. When you are there, you can test a Waymo and it's driving in the road and it's walking.
Kind of scary, by the way.
There is no way, to be honest, technically speaking, that it won't work on the Étoile roundabout, except regulation. So we need to have this kind of regulation moving in order to propel this kind of technologies. This will have great impact. If you look in San Francisco, by the way, today the curve of growth of Lyft is behind Waymo. And this is having a huge shock, huge impact, social impact in the employment area. Second thing about AI is going to be sovereignty. And there's two phases about sovereignty. First phase will be national sovereignty. And there's plenty of questions to rise about Emirates investing in France. What kind of sovereignty are we going to co-build in the digital sphere? And this is going to be very interesting. Second side, which is much more interesting for me in Vivendi, is going to be the sovereignty of data and contents, especially for creators when creating experiences or contents. You can expect with GenAI the fear coming from all the content creators worldwide, but especially in France. And for me, in Vivendi, we are the leader in entertainment, media, and creation of content. And let's be honest, AI is often doing not only better, but at least stealing our content, cheaper content, which is something we need to tackle. And to be honest, here, I'm glad to be there in NFT Paris because the NFTs behind the tech might be the solution. I was in Shenzhen, I was in California. On both sides of the earth, today, the way to protect IPs is blockchain. And this is interesting because even in China, they are using blockchain to certify, to identify where is France, who was supposed to be the capital of blockchain and crypto, where are we to protect the creators of content. This will be the real sovereignty, and this will be how we can attract in Europe and in France new experiences and new creators. And last but not least, beside, I would say, as you were mentioning, as a local scale, if we want to be competitive behind the law and behind the investments, there's something else. And this something else is having people understanding the matter. And today, in Vivendi, we pushed, and more than half of our employees are already learning about prompts, learning about GenAI, learning about crypto, Web3, etc. It's mandatory in our company. And it's going to be soon the same for our clients. But it's a long trip to go because actually we are still far away for plenty of our own jobs when it comes to education. For example, yes, CEOs, consultants, they are very aware of everything, but assistants, we are far away. And they might be the first to suffer the risks of Gen AI if they have a call from me with a deepfake voice saying some things that I shouldn't say. So we need to embark all the people, and that's why the summit was super key, because it was a way to embark all the society, all the citizens, to go toward a better or self-protected AI-proof system.
All right, I think that's a good way to end the conversation. And clearly, it's the very beginning of this conversation around Gen AI over the years and years to come. Thank you so much for being on this panel with me. Thank you for the discussion.